The Philadelphia Eagles went to the White House on Monday to celebrate their Super Bowl victory with President Donald Trump. The trip is a time-honored trip that most teams make upon winning a championship. However, not everyone with the team or organization makes the trip for whatever reason. As for the Philadelphia Eagles, not everyone made the trip, including Super Bowl MVP Jalen Hurts. Others not in attendance included wide receivers A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, linebacker Zach Bond, defensive ends Brandon Graham and Josh Sweat, and defensive tackle Jalen Carter. Running back Saquon Barkley did attend the ceremony, and President Trump had this to say about the Eagles' star running back. Take a listen.
And by the way, I have to tell you something. I was with the Giants and the head coach and some people, and I said, do anything you have to, but don't lose Saquon. They lost Saquon. That was not good. I called that one. That was an easy one to call because he played damn well for the Giants, I can tell you that.
Saquon's appearance didn't sit well with comedian and talk show host D.L. Hughley. Take a listen to what D.L. had to say about Barkley and other black people who visit the White House in general, particularly the Trump White House.
14 players said, I'm going to boycott this. Whose side are you on?
I think that it's not just political. What Donald Trump has done and is doing to black history is unsavory and is undeniable. Donald Trump is deliberately trying to erase black people's history for whatever quest. He's elevating Christopher Columbus again. So he deliberately is doing things to black people that isn't just political. And any black man that does it is going to obviously catch some level of heat. When a black person does it, when it's a black person, I can always tell what kind of black person. I can always tell what they are.
Whoa, wait, what does that mean, Dia?
Saquon Barkley, he had a girlfriend that threw around the N-word a lot and said she wasn't a gold digger and she wasn't messing with no broke N-words. He looks like that kind of guy that is indifferent to what black people go through. It's just true. And I think I've noticed that to be consistent with a lot of black people who show up. They have a shoe booty affect to them.
Here's what Saquon Barkley posted on X to critics of his appearance at the White House. Quote, laugh out loud. Some people are really upset because I played golf and flew to the White House with the president. Maybe I just respect the office. Not a hard concept to understand. Just golfed with Obama not too long ago and look forward to finishing my round with Trump. Now you get out my mentions with all this politics and have an amazing day. End quote, Saquon Barkley. Wouldn't have been as flippant as Saquon Barkley, but I understand his underlying point. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got to be bigger than that. I'm not here to insult or castigate D.L. Hughley in any way. I think that he's a sensational comedian who's made us laugh for many, many years, Kings of Comedy, and his D.L. Hughley show on ABC come to mind. He's done outstanding work throughout the years. He is smart, he is sharp, he is thoughtful, he is conscientious, and I think overall he's a good brother. He has been critical of me in the past. I do not care. He is entitled to his opinion, and we are entitled to disagree with what we have to disagree with. But in this particular instance, I think he has to be bigger than that. Saquon Barkley is a football player. The Philadelphia Eagles won the championship. Trump is somebody he's played golf with, just like former President Barack Obama is somebody he's played with. Everybody is not into politics the way somebody like a D.L. Hughley is. Everybody is not paying attention to every policy that's put out there, every executive order that's issued, or whatever the case may be. Everybody's not doing that. Some people go about the everyday rigmarole of their lives, and to them, ignorance is bliss. Not calling Saquon ignorant in by any stretch of the imagination, but to some people, ignorance is bliss. They want to go about the business of doing their everyday job because they know they have no control over the apparatus and the system that's in place. You're not going to change it. So they're not trying to live their life with everything being a protest. That's their position. We might not like it, but in the same breath, they're entitled to do so. And they should be able to do so without us looking down on them. To get to D.L. Hughley's points directly, stigmatizing black folks, saying you know who they are, and using that example to describe Saquon Barkley, I'm not saying she's a gold digger, but she ain't messing with no broke. Really? That's what we're doing. Because why? What evidence do you have that that's how they think? I can give you a myriad of issues that affect people's thinking. Some people are about money, and they think money changes everything. Some people look at politicians as just speaking and running their mouths, okay, and really just, politicizing things and grandstanding. Some people look at politicians and they say, okay, you're willing to say one thing, but you're willing to work across the aisle and make things happen. Some people look at politicians and say, you can't believe a damn thing they say on either side of the aisle, because most of them are bought and paid for in a lot of people's eyes. People bring that stuff up all the time. Some people are more politically conscientious than others. In D.L. Hughley's case, some would even describe him as an activist in this day and time. And we know his positions. Donald Trump questioned Barack Obama's birthright legitimacy. Donald Trump is against black people. This is what D.L. Hughley has said before. He doesn't have our interests at heart at all. Some people could turn around and look at D.L. Hughley and say, well, if black folks are giving the Democratic Party 85 to 90% of the vote, when do you expect the politician on the other side of the aisle to care? Because they're going to cater to their constituency, whoever's going to get them into elected office. But more importantly than that, let me or rather bring this home for everybody to understand. Common sense has to kick in. When I thought about what D.L. Hughley said, I thought about what he would think about me as an ambassador for HBCU Week, led by this wonderful, wonderful woman by the name of Ashley Christopher, based out of Delaware. We've collaborated and assisted one another in raising nearly $100 million in scholarships for over 12,000 students at HBCUs. If we're hearing reports that the federal government may diminish funds that were being allocated to HBCUs, and Trump invited somebody like myself to come to the White House and have a conversation with him, I'm not supposed to do that? I'm supposed to ignore it? I'm supposed to look at his position on DEI? I'm supposed to look at him closing the borders? I'm supposed to look at his positions with tariffs? I'm supposed to look at him trying to disband, if not eradicate, the education department? I'm supposed to look at him saying, I'm not about defunding the police? I'm supposed to look at him and say, you know what? I question his vitriol towards Black Lives Matter, et cetera, and as a result, I'm supposed to not go to the White House? I'm supposed to not do what I can to try to influence him in making a difference? See, when I think about D.L. Hughley and I think about this highly intelligent and accomplished brother who has a voice and who could possibly, and in all likelihood, impact very formidable lives, I think about that D.L. Hughley and I say to myself, why would you cut off your knees to spite your face, or cut off your nose to spite your face? Why not keep an open mind? Why not leave yourself open to the possibility that you could communicate with the very people whose actions you may abhor in the political spectrum? Because guess what? You may have the impact to create change and to create a difference for them. And why do I bring that up? Because one of the things that I've been lamenting for a long time, ladies and gentlemen, I've never met Jasmine Crockett. I'm looking forward to talking to her and having her on this show. I've never met AOC. I'm not opposed to having her on the show. Now, I don't want to interview Senator Elizabeth Warren because I don't want to feel like the second I disagree with her, I'm going to hell. That's my only problem with Senator Elizabeth Warren. If you disagree with her, she makes you feel like you're going to hell, like you have no heart, no soul, no conscience. I'm not dealing with somebody like that. But if you're passionate about what you feel and where you stand, and you got facts to back it up, even with your emotions coupled with that, I'm all for listening to what you have to say. Here's my problems with the Democrats. Here's my problems with what D.L. Hughley came across like. I've heard politicians on Capitol Hill saying, I'm here just to disagree and oppose every damn thing Trump wants to do. Well, why are you up on Capitol Hill? Ain't you supposed to be figuring out what you want to be against and what you could potentially be for? Isn't he known as a deal maker? Hasn't he been, whether it's revered or insulted, as a non-politician? Hasn't he been somebody that gives you the impression, if you're complimentary towards him about some things that he does, and you're willing to sit down and talk with him, he will sit up there and appease you just the way he would ask you to appease him? If you're not willing to talk and work across the aisle on Capitol Hill, what the hell are you up there for? So that is what came to my mind. You have to work with people you dislike, people you disagree with, people who you know in your core, in your core, do not have you, nor your communities, nor your constituencies' best interests at heart. You still have to work with them. If Cuomo wins the mayoral seat in New York City, Andrew Cuomo, you think he's not going to try to work with the Trump White House? Josh Shapiro is the governor of Pennsylvania. Wes Moore is the governor of Maryland. You think they're not going to try to work with Trump and his White House to get things done, even though they're going to speak against him on certain issues? You can't have this closed door, closed-minded, resolute belief that allows you the excuse to remain stagnant, therefore ineffective in doing your job. That's my issue with politicians. And I think it's important, if you're a D.L. Hughley with a voice that resonates to many, many people, that no matter how you feel, you keep an open mind about the possibility of communicating, just so you can make a difference, because you never know where that difference may come from. That's all I wanted to say about that.